Hello, Michael Swain here after Kansas football's 37-34 loss to Cincinnati here inside of David Booth, Kansas Memorial Stadium. And let's just jump right into this. Let's talk about it. Kansas drops another one-score game. Here's a stat for you. KU is 1-8 in its last 9 one-score games. That dates back to the 2023 season, going back to the end of the year, right? KU falls to Kansas State in a one-score game. And this has been a recurring issue for Kansas for, as I said, multiple years now, where KU struggles to see out one-score games. And this game is another example of that. And we can go right to Lance Leipold's quote post-game where, this is how the Big 12 is. And Kansas has to find a way to win these games. And right now, Kansas is finding ways to lose these games. Because you can go back to last year, and KU was in winning positions several times. And they let it slip at the end. And what happened here today? KU gets the touchdown at the end of the game to take the lead. They've got, a minute and a half, minute 40 to go, get one stop defensively, and all of a sudden KU improves to 2-0 in conference play for the second time under Lance Leipold. Right, it's a great start to the year, but no. KU, again, the same issues that I think you've seen in the big games for KU this year, which honestly, considering the way the season has gone, it's really the Missouri game is our data point for that. Because Fresno State was a one-half game. Wagner doesn't count. You got Missouri as your full game, and then you got a half against West Virginia. If you want to count maybe the first drive of the third quarter, you can. But KU has not been in these tight games, and the one time they were against Missouri this year, they lost, and they lost by double digits. And so in that last drive, what are the issues that pop up for Kansas again? It's explosive plays through the air and an inability to get off the field on crucial downs. And that's been a big issue for Kansas. Kansas went into today's game in the 13th percentile nationally in success rate on third or fourth down. That's terrible. And Kansas, on the final drive, has an interception go through Trey Lathan's hands. If he's not there, maybe Lyric Ross picks it off. It's a almost what-if play. A little reminiscent of Rich Miller against Kansas State back in 2023 in that one-score game I referenced a second ago. And then it's a 4th and 10, and Cincinnati is able to convert. And then they go on, they get within the 5-yard line, and they score. And then Kansas, another common theme, is that on those crucial drives, when there's less than a minute left in the game, KU struggles to get that first down and get any sort of momentum. Again, you can look at Missouri at the end of that game. KU struggled to get that first down. Ends up being, I believe they punted on that one. And then you can go back last year, Arizona State, KU was unable to do it. West Virginia, KU was unable to do it. It's been something that has popped up, and these are the same issues. And Lance Leipold got asked about it post-game. He talked about the fact that they are drilling the 2-minute stuff to death. And I don't know what's more concerning. The fact that KU continues to practice it and fall short, it's just bewildering. Because the coaches know, the players know that you have to be good and execute inside those crucial minutes at the end of a game to get out on top. And the fact that issue continues to pop up. And this is something we heard about back in January, where they were drilling, finishing strong, finishing the ends of games. And just KU has struggled to do that. And for KU to go to where it wants to go as a team, you can't lose close games. You're not going to be able to win every game by 2-3 scores where it's a comfortable end of the game. You have to be better in the margins, and just Kansas consistently is not better in the margins. And that, who does that fall on, right? Again, it's on the coaches, because they got to find ways to find answers to the questions that other teams are asking. It's also on the players. If you have an interception hit off your hands, you should catch it. And look, I've been a Trey Lathan guy that's praised him to death. He's been so good this year, and that's the one play that you'd say, he quite literally dropped the ball. But it's just a mixture of everything, right? And at the end of the day, this team is only going to go as far as it can if it wins one-score games, right? It's a team that is not going to be able to go win. You're not playing West Virginia every week. You get one more game like that when you play Oklahoma State. Every other game, there's a very good chance it's going to be a one-score game. So KU's got to be better in those situations. So what led to that? Well, defensively, it was just an awful performance. Pass defense-wise, KU struggled mightily. The safeties had one of the worst games I think I've seen KU safeties have in a long time. I don't remember a game last year thinking, oh my gosh, the safeties are just getting cooked, like guys are open 20 yards downfield all game. And KU switched it up. Early in the game it was a lot of zone, and then later on there was man, and then when it was zone they were finding ways to get past the safeties, taking advantage of their eyes. Where if you look back on some of those replays, you can see where the safeties are looking. They're looking at the quarterback in the backfield as guys run behind them. Okay. Later in the game, KU switches to more man, and on that 4th down and 10, it's man coverage on a crossing route when DJ Graham's covering a guy, and he ends up making a great one-hand to catch, right? You tip your hat to him, but still, he was open, and KU's in man coverage at that point. So Cincinnati offensively found ways to answer the pivots that KU made throughout the course of the game. And yet I'm still here asking the same question I think I asked after Missouri. If KU's pass rush can't get to the quarterback, is this secondary at the point where it's good enough to consistently cover? And right now the answer to that is no. It's a very young secondary, right? DJ Graham, Lyric Rawls are the 2 most experienced players out there. I think Rawls had a really poor game, but then you've got Taylor Davis, first-year starter, Jalen Todd, first-year starter. You've got another guy in Austin Alexander who's kind of your third corner on the outside, first-year contributor. So it's a young secondary that's learning, and it should get better over the course of the season. But right now it's being taken advantage of in some of these big moments where other teams are able to convert consistently on 3rd and long, 4th and long, just because guys are able to get open. And that leads me to the defensive line, where, look, I think KU's defensive line has been a very encouraging part of this season so far. KU has gone in and made plays against every team it's played against, right? You go back, look at the Missouri game, they really limited Bo Prabula. They did a great job of getting pressure. They were able to get some tackles for loss. And then you look at this game, and look, I think Cincinnati's offensive line is probably going to be up there for the toughest KU's going to play this year. Not because they've got a bunch of NFL draft picks, but because the line plays really, really well together. And this is something I mentioned for those that watch the podcast, right? I mentioned that on the podcast on Sunday, that I thought the offensive line was going to be one of the better ones KU plays probably until Utah at the end of the season. Well, KU only has 3 tackles for loss today, 1 sack. Granted, it's the first sack Cincinnati's allowed all season. But KU's defensive line is the platform for the defense. And in games when the defensive line cannot get pressure and cannot find ways to get tackles for loss, get teams behind the chains, the whole house of cards is going to fall. Because a lot of stuff is built around that defensive line. When that line is looked at its best, that's when KU's defense has started to look really good. Guys are flying around, making plays, and that didn't happen. And so that's going to be something to watch going forward, right? Look at the other team's offensive line. How good is it? Is it a team that KU can get pressure on? Because if KU can go into UCF next week, get pressure, and be able to get upfield and make plays, all of a sudden it takes care of a lot of those questions you may have at the 3rd level of the defense, right, in the defensive backfield. So, all right, that's the defense, right? That's how you get to the point where Cincinnati posts over 600 yards of offense. They post 37 points, and it's a blended attack too. I got the stats here on my computer: 388 passing yards, 215 rushing yards. That's how you get to that point, and it shows you the issues that KU's going to have to deal with over the course of the season. I don't know, right? How good is the defense? Again, Cincinnati's offensive line did a great job of mitigating KU's strength. And so it's going to be a question of how does KU pivot when other teams maybe try and find ways to slow down the defensive line so that they can't take advantage of KU's defensive backs. All right, let's switch to offense. Emmanuel Henderson, awesome game. His best game is Jayhawk, obviously, but it's the best game a KU wide receiver has had since Steven Sims in 2017. Henderson finishes with a total of 214 passing yards, receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. Awesome game. Jalen Daniels, awesome game, except for the fumble right here behind me. It's now, the 2nd time this year where Daniels has put the ball on the ground? Maybe even the 3rd, because I think he may have done it earlier in the game. My memory's going on that one. But that's a crucial play for KU. And I think for KU, offensively in this game, you can look at a few different plays and say that is the difference in the game. You can look at the fumble on the speed option on the other side in the first half, where KU's in the red zone, all of a sudden it's a 12-yard loss. They have to settle for a field goal. That's a 4-point difference. Again, you'd love to have that at the end of the game if you're KU. Again, you go back to Jalen Daniels fumbling on the goal line. Yes, KU came back and they scored the next drive and they got the stop. Fine. It's a different question, though, if Kansas has 7 points on that drive and then the defense goes out, gets a stop, and so on and so forth. And then you could talk about Bryson Cansey stepping out of bounds on that crucial play and then KU having to punt. There were very good moments for KU in this game offensively. They put up a bunch of yards in this one, right? Almost 600 yards of offense, 444 through the air, 152 on the ground. But it's those crucial plays in the red zone where KU left points on the board, and they need to be better in that and taking advantage of those opportunities. You can't turn the ball over in the red zone, and you can't have negative 10-plus yard loss plays in the red zone. And so holistically for KU offensively, there's positive things, but again, these little moments keep popping up in these games where they end up being just huge killers, right? You can go back to the fumble against Missouri in the second quarter of that game. KU's got to clean things up offensively because there are positive things there. Still some concerns about the run game. But holistically for KU in this one, the defense, don't allow a team to score 37 points on you. Offensively, don't turn the ball over in the red zone and don't give up opportunities in the red zone. So holistically, where's KU at? It's still a team that's I think is going to make a bowl game. It's just a question of, is it going to be a 6-6 or an 8-4 type of team? And that's going to come down to how KU does in these one-score games. They have to get better. You can't give away games. You just can't. If you want to get to where KU wants to get, and look, KU's going to be a lot more one-score games. UCF next week, we'll see. I've not been able to catch up on the UCF K-State game. I've just seen the score. Texas Tech, that's a tough game. You get a bye week, you play K-State, you play Oklahoma State, you go on the road to play Arizona. Like, this is now a stretch here before you have another bye, and then you got to play Utah, Iowa State. We're going to learn a lot about KU next week at UCF, because if they come out and lay an egg at the bounce house at night, all of a sudden you're going to be kind of concerned looking at the rest of the schedule, because you play 3 teams that are top half, better teams in the Big 12, where it's going to be one-score games, and if KU can't show improvement in those crucial areas, you're kind of concerned about where things are headed. So that's what I got for you. Longer video today, a lot to get through. Some of the same issues, though. That's what's concerning, is these are the same issues we've seen for years now popping up. And it shows the last week against West Virginia. First of all, it shows how terrible West Virginia is. Second of all, it makes that look more like the outlier than maybe the setting of a new norm. So that's what I got. Make sure you check out all the content at fog.net. We'll be back with a podcast on Sunday with Kevin Flaherty. Breaking this all down, I'm going to go rewatch the game, see what I can see that's different. Maybe I missed some stuff. I don't know. But those are my quick thoughts. Thanks as always for watching. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back with more content on Sunday.